So today I'm going to take my palette here. Got to clean that off. I was painting just a little bit ago. I'm going to paint this scene of these trees here. It's a very early spring afternoon, getting toward evening, and I just like the shape of that tree. And painting trees, even though it's defoliated, it's not something a lot of people might consider painting, but it can be a good study, if anything else. I'm going to start with this beautiful lavenderish tone from those more distant trees. Normally, I don't do this much background work first. I usually like to start at the foreground, but there's not going to be a lot of foreground in this painting. And when you're dealing with these thinner defoliated trees, you kind of have to get some background in there. That's why it's good to not get too stuck on a formula or a process, because not everything in nature will comply with your process. As we move down here, there's a lot of little shrubs and things like that. I think I'm making the value of them a bit too dark, because when I squint at it, the value of these shrubs is not much different than the background. I'll bring that down a little bit more. I'm going to get my green foreground in here. And right now I just want to measure the values between this, and that. Gotta go quite a bit lighter with this foreground here. this is just a study. I'm not going to consider this like a completed painting, if you will. And when you're starting out plein air painting, this is what I highly recommend you do. A lot of people, when they start out plein air painting, they want to go out and create a masterpiece, and you're probably just going to frustrate yourself if you do that. It's better to just go out and do something simple and really get it down before you move on to trying to do a whole landscape with everything in it. And something like this is a nice example of how to do that. So now that I got these 3 planes in, I'm going to go back and just make some slight value adjustments to this. And all I'm thinking of right now, like I said, is just the value difference between these 3 different color masses that I'm putting down. Don't need to worry about anything else at this point. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is the sky. Now, in a lot of my other paintings, when I'm dealing, like I said before, when I'm dealing with a subject that, let's say it's a barn or subjects that have a more solid mass, if you will, I'll save the sky for last. But because I'm dealing with a subject that has a lot of little thin things that are going to go up into the sky, painting around that would be an absolute nightmare. So I'm going to block in at least a tone of the sky. And while I'm at it, let me just tell you my colors here that I'm using: titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium orange, yellow ochre, transparent red oxide, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, viridian, and chromium green oxide. Now, even though I'm blocking this in, I'm going to keep it thin. Because I don't want to be painting into really thick paint. So this is going on, almost a consistency of watercolor. And I'm thinning this with mineral spirits. And there's some slight variations here in the sky. And I just want to soften this up a bit. Just rubbing a clean brush across that. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I'm going to go in now and start with the main tree. I'm going to take a smaller bristle brush, prime it with a bit of mineral spirits. Sounds like a dog has discovered me. Dog's way down the road, but he evidently doesn't care. Got to decide how tall I want to take this tree. Do I want it basically going off the top of the canvas, or do I want to keep it all inside? I'm starting with the main trunks here first. And as I continue to paint, I keep making just slight adjustments to my paint mixture. Keep in mind, you don't have to paint the tree exactly how it is. Just try to capture the character of it. Now, the key to painting defoliated trees like this, and this is something that is so easy to miss, especially if you're starting out, if you're newer to painting landscapes, and that is that as these branches go up and they get thinner, they're going to get a little bit lighter and a little bit cooler in value. And the big mistake that artists will make, especially beginning artists, is that they will paint these smaller branches the exact same value and color as the branches, as the bottom of the trunk, and that's not the case. And what happens is you end up with a really pasted on look. Doesn't look like the tree was actually there. It looks like it was stamped on or something. Very artificial looking. And the reason why that is because of the principle of diffraction of light. The thinner branches are going to be more impacted by the surrounding sky light, which is very light and very cool. So if you cool your colors a bit, then you're going to capture that effect. And if you lighten your values, if you don't, then it's not going to look correct. So as I go, I'm adding just little bits of blue and alizarin permanent and white to my mixture. And as I come down here, like I want to get in a thicker branch down here, I'm going to go a little bit darker again. More with the ultramarine blue and I can't remember the other color offhand. Transparent red oxide, which is basically burnt sienna. And if you squint at the scene as you're painting it, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Squint at it and look at the whole thing. Don't just look at one tiny spot. If you look at one spot, then you're not gonna see it correctly. There is another tree branch that comes up here from another tree. So try to get that in there. And the nice thing about adding some of the sky color before you go in with all your other branches is that in getting this cooler whiter sky color in there, it's going to kind of automatically have an effect on your branches as you as they branch out. Bad pun, I know, but if the paint that you're working on happens to be dry, then you definitely want to cool your color as it goes. And I'm definitely just trying to squint at this tree as I paint it. Okay, now before I get too far into painting all these little tiny branches individually, I'm going to squint and just tried to simplify what I'm seeing by just adding lighter, cooler brush strokes. A lot of times you don't have to paint, and you can't paint every single little tiny branch you see. You'd be out here all day. If you're interested in taking your painting skills even further, I'm teaching online oil painting classes. Do it through Zoom. We meet every Saturday, most every Saturday. I take you step by step through the painting process from start to finish. We do one painting over a 4-week period of time. We don't paint nearly as fast as we are out here, because I have to paint fast out here first of all, but I explain all the colors I'm mixing. You get to watch me mix them and give you a lot of tips. We have a Q&A session, critique session. The students really like that. And all the sessions are recorded, so you can watch them later. And I give personal feedback. So if you're interested, if you click on the link below in the description, and that'll take you to the page where you can sign up on the waiting list. And when the spot becomes open, I can let you know. I'm very generous with my knowledge, and my students are very happy, so the spot is not always open, but they do open up, because if I do have a student leave, it's usually because of a scheduling conflict they have, or medical issues or something like that. But anyway, I'd love to have you there if you are interested and you want to take your skills to the next level. A lot of artists who teach workshops, even bigger name artists, some of them are very generous, some of them are not. Some of them it's just, you get to say you studied under big name so-and-so. I don't rely on a reputation for my workshops. I rely on sharing knowledge and trying to help you become the best artist you can be. So anyway, click on the link below or go to jasontako.com and click on workshops, and that'll take you to the same page where you can sign up to be notified when there is an opening. So as I go through this is basically just a process of, lightening and cooling as I get thinner with my branches, and by doing that I'm adding white, ultramarine blue, alizarin permanent, and darkening and warming them as I come down toward the base of the trunk there. I have a feeling it's going to rain soon, so I might have to wrap this up a little shorter than I expected. Got to paint a little faster than I expected. Now, I could sit out here all day and try to make this tree look exactly like it is, get every single branch, every single iteration of lightness and darkness. But I don't have all day. I don't even know if I have another half hour, given the, I can just feel when it's going to rain. Kind of getting that feeling. And I know they said earlier that we would get rain this evening. So what I'm doing is I'm going back in and punching in some of these slightly thicker, darker branches give a little bit more stability to the tree. So all the fuzzy stuff, fuzzy lighter stuff I put down is just the little tiny bunches of twigs and everything like that that are growing out of this out of these bigger branches that I'm putting down. Somebody or something is crying out off in the distance. No clue what it is. Hopefully nobody's in trouble. I think it's some kids playing. A lot of interesting things when you're out plein air painting. Okay, just for fun, I'm going to go in and add some it's kind of cooler, more lavender colors into these highlights. And just use the palette knife here to kind of dab in just the overall impression of what I'm seeing there. I'm going to add a touch of a slightly more intense green. There, I think we'll call that a sketch. I said it's just a quick little study, and if you're newer to plein air painting, I highly recommend you do these. You're going to you're gonna make a lot more progress if you narrow down and just paint trees for a while. Especially if you're struggling with trees, and then just go ahead and paint buildings for a while if you want to do that, or narrow down your subject matter when you're starting out and keep it simple. Don't try to go out and paint everything you see, but just do some trees and just try to capture the impression of them, and then move on to do that for a couple months, or maybe even more, maybe a year, depending on how much struggle you're having with that. Like I said, if you want to check out my workshops, click on the link below. Love to have you there. And thanks for watching.